Continuing with the ongoing research, in today's video, I want to speak about a study that happened by chance, that has been going around for the last 2 or 3 months as of the making of this video in May 2022. About the brain activity at the moment of death. As I said, this research happened by chance. It was about an 87-year-old man who was suffering from epilepsy, and they were conducting an EEG study on him. Procedure on him, and at the time that this happened, he was hooked up to the machine. He had everything going. He had a cardiac arrest. He was an 87-year-old man, a bit of an older person who happened to have this happened to him while he was conducting an EEG. So what the medical staff was able to do was able to capture what exactly happens to a dying brain. So they have 900 seconds of documented activity, which is roughly 15 minutes. And they were very interested in what exactly happens to the brain. So some of the conclusions are that perhaps what happens in near-death experiences are just the last bits of information being processed by the brain, or some sort of design by the brain to recreate these memories or memory retrieval and so on and so forth. As I said, there's so much more depth to near-death experiences, which is even in some of the other postulations. And that consensus statement that I made a video about, that video is going to be linked below as usual, along with some of the other reference videos, and it's going to be linked somewhere on the screen because I do refer to it in this video. It goes deeper than that. What these articles are not taking into account are why are they meeting beings, why are they having out-of-body experiences and recall scenes or things that happened when they were completely unconscious or going through this process of death, which later the nurses and the doctors have been able to confirm. Why are we concluding that it's just the brain doing the last bits of information when there are all of these other things happening, and they are reported? They have been reported, documented, and now we have that consensus statement that speaks about them from experts around the world. So we cannot take this conclusion as a final, and I'm going to be doing these counter arguments in this video. Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline. Alright, so the article that I'll be reviewing today is this one. What happens in our brain when we die? As I said, there's a bunch of sites that have featured the same article because there are algorithms and programs that are made to just recreate an article, write it, post it in a blog, and then shift around the words and repost it in another blog, and so on and so forth. Researchers investigate detailed activity of a dying brain. This is medium.com. The one that I'm going to be reading on is neurosciencenews.com. And even on RT, this Russian former Soviet Union got their own thing. World's first scan of a dying brain reveals final moments. So they are researching, of course, all of this comes from a research which is right here in Frontiers. Frontiersin.org, where is the actual study where it was published. It's all right here, available for the public, and this is where all of these articles comes. I always make this clear because I've been getting that argument on and on and on. People saying that, oh, anybody can write an article, everybody can write a blog post. No, okay, yes, anybody can, but all of these and in all of my videos on ongoing research, I'm always gonna base myself on an actual published study. The articles are different, there's different creativity to each of them, so I'm going to be reading this one today. So this is February 22nd, 2022. I've been seeing this article going out this year. A new study reveals brain oscillations associated with memory retrieval alter in the moments before death, suggesting the brain may replay significant life events just before we die, but it's also afterwards. Well, in the previous study, which probably gonna be all the related links are gonna be as always below, because I've been talking about different aspects of the same topic, and there are some very big news coming from this year. I already talked about this a little bit, so everything is going to be below. I'm going to be linking on the screen at some point. So what they don't know right now, what the scientists are starting to question themselves, is when exactly does death happen? Because what they are seeing is that there's activity even after they call the clinical death, after there's blood flowing to the brain, after the heart stops. They are seeing that there's still activity, and in this case, okay, I'm just gonna go through the article. So they go into, imagine reliving your entire life in the space of seconds, like a flash of lightning. You are outside of your body, watching memorable moments you lived through. This is process known as a live recall. No, it's a live review. All the data, like one of the things that they're trying to do that I am not very on with, is trying to redefine everything. A live recall. They're trying to go away from the term near-death experiences. And they're coming with new terms for some reasons. I don't know. This is a live review. I made videos about it. I'm gonna link it somewhere in the screen. This is one of the main things that happens in near-death experiences. What happens inside your brain during these experiences and after that are questions that have puzzled neuroscientists for centuries. I wouldn't think so. It was around 1950 or 1960 where Raymond Moody, one of the pioneers on near-death experience research, started writing, and it was around the 60s where medical technology was getting to the point where they were bringing people back more often than not. And these people were coming with all the stories. So it was around the 1950, 1960 when it actually, the whole near-death experience phenomenon started to be acknowledged. But yeah, indeed, this goes even back to the writings of Plato, and it's been happening. And this is the assumption that a lot of philosophies, a lot of ancient philosophies and prophets and whatnot come from these types of experiences, these near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences, and so on and so forth. So right here, outside of your body, what all of these articles are going on is they're making the argument that it's all the brain doing its last little bits of information or activity before we die, and this is why we have our memories, and that's it. So, and it is right here. They're pointing out to the outside of your body. How do you explain the brain creating scenes, moments, or even thoughts from people outside of your body, which have been documented in near-death experiences? This is not your brain just flashing. The fact that people have recalled this being outside of their body and confirming things that happened in the operation room, things that happened when there was no way for them to be conscious. They were going through this process of their brain dying, of this process of death experience. They couldn't have any conscious experience, but they somehow saw everything around them. And then the nurses and the doctors are able to confirm some of these things. They are literally outside of the body seeing the scene. This has been confirmed. There are many, many stories and many documented reports of this. We know this, but now still in these articles they're saying, yeah, it's just the dying brain doing this thing. How do you explain the brain creating the exact scene of what's going on in the operation room? So this is one of the arguments that I'm going to be making. This is why it's not just the brain just flashing thoughts or whatsoever. So, okay. A new study published in Frontier Aging Neuroscience suggests that your brain may remain active, coordinated during and after the transition to death. What I've been saying, we don't know what exactly that happened. It may even be programmed to orchestrate the whole ordeal. Okay, so this right here is another of the arguments that I'm going to base myself, this rational divine outline that I'm making. This is one of the arguments. Even if we assumed, which would be an incorrect assumption, that is only the brain just flashing the last bits of life and it's all a hallucination of hundreds of millions of people having the same hallucination as they are saying. If it is all the brain just flashing, why are we programmed to orchestrate the whole ordeal? Why does it have very specific things? Why does it care? One of the things and one of the arguments that I've used in the past is that the scientists, they look at the brain as this external entity which is holy and sacred. Is the magic of the brain. The brain is doing this and the brain coordinates that and so on. Like it's an external, highly advanced being on its own. Yes, this is one of the things that we have to ponder upon. Why, let's say that the brain is doing everything, why does it care about what you learned in life? So this is the principle of intelligent design. There is intelligent design to the process of life and death. This is something that we have to ponder upon. And this leads to bigger questions indeed. So this is all from a single case from an 87-year-old man who developed epilepsy, and they were conducting some testing on him, and he was connected to an EEG machine. And at this time that this happened, so this has to do with the ethics of near-death experience research. Like, they cannot hook people up into machines just assuming they're gonna die. This is you fall into ethical issues with this. So this was just a strange incident where the patient was already hooked up to the EEG, and he had a cardiac arrest, a heart attack when this happened. So they managed to record the EEG at the moment of death. So this is an unexpected event that allowed the scientists to record activity of a dying human brain for the first time ever. So I said this has not been done. There's a lot of ethical issues with this, with studying that, but there's some research that is going on. So they measured 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes of brain activity around the time of death, but they focused on the 30 seconds before and after the heart stopped. So this is why they say they don't know when actual death happens, because it seems that even after the heart stops and there's no blood flow to the brain, things are still happening in the brain. Things are still going on, just like the body is still twitching. So there's this question: when does that happen? So it is very likely that after this minute of around the actual time of death, even the brain activity goes down again, and maybe just completely stops after a few minutes. I'm not really sure how all of this works, but the interesting thing here is that just before and after the heart stopped working, we saw changes in a specific band of neural oscillations, so-called gamma oscillations, but also in others such as delta, theta, alpha, and beta, but also in others such as delta, theta, alpha, and beta oscillations. Brain oscillations, more commonly known as brain waves, are patterns of rhythmic brain activity normally present in living human brains. Different types of oscillations, including gamma, involving high cognitive functions such as concentrating, dreaming, meditation, memory retrieval, information processing, and conscious perception, just like those associated with memory flashbacks. So this is the argument right here. Through generating oscillations involved in memory retrieval, the brain may be playing a last recall of important life events just before we die. So this is the whole argument right here. So they're saying this activity in the brainwaves, which are associated. The idea is we don't really know what's happening in the brain. This is one of the arguments that I've been making. We don't really know where these mental images are. Like, people think they know, but they don't know. The only thing that we can read is people's brain activating and having these electrical pulses which go throughout the brain. We don't know, is it the memory? Is it an image? Is it information? This only adds to those fringe theories on consciousness, which says that everything is energy and everything is stored in this energy. Now you start talking, I'm going to go into in the future, but now you start talking into the concept of the Akashic records and so on and so forth. But right now I'm just focusing on this right here. So these brainwaves are associated with concentrating, dreaming, meditation, memory retrieval. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go into it right now, because this is what I really don't like about all these articles coming forward and just jumping into conclusions, saying, oh yeah, it's just a dream, just doing the last bits of just processing the last bits of information after you die, because there might be designed for this and so on and so forth. Okay, so it says these brain waves are associated to these processes of dreaming, meditation, memory retrieval, information processing, conscious perception. So when you go into the literature, and as I said in the previous video, I'm going to link it somewhere in the screen. It's about how it's been confirmed that mammals dream about the world before coming into reality. So we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is dreaming? So the study confirms that they sort of know about motion in the world, and they're most likely just dreaming about the world itself. How do they have this information about the world? Through dreaming. What are dreams? So in the literature, it is said that dreaming is where we create our future. Is one of the bardos, is this other state of consciousness where we are always in, and through our dreams we receive guiding, we receive lessons, we receive also, it's a lot of our thoughts, just simply our brains trying to figure out things. There's a lot of questions about dreams. Meditation, when you go into, so as I said, I have the first part of the outline is about Christianity. I published this book. The second part, which I have not published, is on Eastern philosophies. And when you go into the depth of meditation, what these monks are saying is that they can exit their bodies and they can go through mountains. I don't know if this is the whole concept of samadhi, of not being, of being outside. This is what happens in psychedelic states. This is what the research is suggesting. Memory retrieval. Now, there is this idea, as I've been speaking before, of the Akashic record. So when I mention Akashic records, everything starts turning very esoteric, very fringe-like. But this is just a concept. Let's go with another concept. If reality is a hologram, and information is stored in bits, or there is a central place of information, memory retrieval, all memories could be right there. So when it's all right here in these little words right here. So concentrating, meditating. When people go into meditation, what did the Buddha say? What did this Tibetan monk said? When they go into this deep state of samadhi, he said that you can go through your previous lives, because all the memories are stored. And there are these references from some other people, like Tom Campbell, like some others, which say that, I think it was the Buddha, I cannot remember. So he said he was like in some sort of a cosmic sphere, and there were all these roses on the ground, all these flowers, and each flower had a memory, and all these memories exist right there. They say that you can achieve this through meditation. So memory retrieval, this is the concept that all the memories are stored somewhere outside our body. And through the frame sets, where the brain goes into these different brain waves, you can access these memories. You can access this information outside of your brain. So we don't know where exactly are the memories located. What are the memories? Are they clips? Are they mental images? You run into the ontological problem, the problem of consciousness, the problem of qualia. Where is the taste of chocolate? How can we understand these things? Is it literally in the electrical patterns in the brains? Where is it? Inside it? Is it encoded in the smallest particles, in the smallest quantum particles? This is what the org-OR theory refers to, that consciousness happens in this at the micro level, in the brain and outside of the brain. It gets a little bit complicated, but if we put all the literature together, what's happening, this phenomenon of this 87-year-old man going into these brainwave patterns and just accessing this memory retrieval, it all starts to make sense. Okay, so I know this is quite a complicated theme and quite a complicated concept. I'm gonna go into it probably today, otherwise I'm gonna be doing it in a different video. The same thing happens during psychedelic experiences. What happens to the brain when the psychedelic experiences, when people are experiencing these realms, these entities, this altered state of consciousness where it's more real than real, just like in the study from Sam Parnia said about near-death experiences. It's the same thing. It happens the same thing. People go into these different brainwaves. So what seems to be happening here is that as we access these different brainwaves, our consciousness is in different levels, and this is what the literature suggests, that there are these different levels of consciousness. And consciousness is not real. These different frames of reality, to say, in a way. And this can be just tied into the main two that we know and understand, the physical and the metaphysical. And this is what these ancient philosophers were talking about, the flesh and the spirit. We are starting to understand this in a more scientific way, with actual theory, with actual research, which is happening right here. So, reducing the idea of the live review of near-death experiences to simply the brain accessing this memory retrieval, this dreaming, this meditation, it's very reductive. Where do you place the fact that these people are meeting entities? Where do you place the fact that these people are getting the same message over and over and over? These beings of light telling them that it might be all a simulation, that everything is going to be okay, telling them that it's all about love. Why? Why is it encoded in their brains? Is everybody hallucinating the same thing? This is not part of the research, because that would be pushing the envelope a little bit too much. But this is actually and factually in the reports. It is all in those main points of these postulations of that consensus statement that happened last month, which I made a video about. It's the first consensus. It's not the first postulation on near-death experiences, because there have been, but it's the first consensus statement. What does that mean? That means that there's a bunch of people who are experts on the field coming to a consensus. They're agreeing on what's happening as a base and as the background for the future research on near-death experiences, which they are calling them something different. I'm gonna link it somewhere on the screen right now, and all the links are gonna be below. So it's not only about memory retrieval, it's not only about dreaming, it's not only about meditation. It's okay, they have this live recall, which they talk about here, live recall. But how do they explain that not only their brain is processing their own experience through life, but they can see themselves from outside their body, and they can feel what the others felt. And this is a statement of near-death experiences. They can feel what other people felt through their actions, and not only that, you can call it travel through time and see what were the consequences of their actions on other people, as if they were living as the other people as well. The only way that this could happen is that consciousness is not isolated to the individual, and the brain is not the seat of consciousness, but consciousness is outside the brain. So when we are just shifting between these delta, theta, alpha, and beta oscillations, we're going through different frame sets of our own individual consciousness. But when we exit this frame of reality, we access the larger consciousness, which is why most likely these people are able to relieve things through the eyes of others, because we are all part of the same thing. And this is what's in the literature on near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences and psychedelics, on ancient philosophies. There's only one of us, and we're experiencing this oneness through a multitude of individuals. This is what seems to be happening. There's even the concept, if you Google Wikipedia and you Google mystical psychosis, this is what some people just have. They have these experiences where they understand this, and it's been tagged by the early psychologists as mystical psychosis. This idea of ego dissolution, which is what happens with psychedelics, ties into my previous argument from the previous video. There's all this information outside the brain now. So this idea of the unified theory, the unified field of consciousness, the ORCOR theory, which states that once we die, that information which is within our brains goes outside, and then the ego dissolution happens. It's all adding up. It's all coming together. So the article ends with a quote from one of the researchers. Something we may learn from this research is, although our loved ones have their eyes closed and are ready to leave us to rest, their brains may be replaying some of the nicest moments they experienced in their lives. Now, sometimes it's not the nicest moment. Sometimes it's the time when they were... So this brings another argument. Sometimes it's the times that they were mean to other people, when they were doing bad things to other people and they relieve them. Perhaps this is one of the experiences of hell, and they see through it. They see what they did wrong. Now this begs the question, why does the brain, their brains are creating this magical piece of equipment, this magical entity, the brain, why does the brain care about what they did in life? Or perhaps is there something, a higher intelligence that is creating this, a higher design, an intelligent design behind the whole thing? But no, our scientists today are saying it's just the brain doing all of this. Why does the brain care if what the consequences of their actions were on other people's lives? Why does the brain tells them that everything is about love and that we're trying to learn something because we are creatives and we're trying to experience things? Why does the brain care about it? This is my whole argument. It's clear. If you read enough reports, if you go through the literature, through all of the literature, and then you go into channelings, and then you go into reports from psychedelics, it's all adding to the same thing. You study the ancient scriptures in their original languages, and it all starts adding up. There is a purpose and there is intelligent design to this live review. There is so much more going on in near-death experiences. So many experiences of out-of-body experiences, of some people are seeing what they would call, what they would define as aliens, as beings from other places. Some people travel to different dimensions. So people create their own heavens. If you go into the literature on out-of-body experiences, what they say, William Bullman, he says that there are these consensus realities, that people see what they want to see when they die. It's all very, very complex, and it's way, way, way deeper than what these early conclusions from our scientists and these magical brains have to offer. Alright, so throughout all this video I went to very different avenues and I went in depth into some of the arguments that I'm using against this argument, but right here I want to make a TLDR, a quick version to counter this argument, which I've seen, which has been used a lot and all over the place by people who just want to undermine the research and the validity of near-death experiences, who want to even ridicule at times the research on near-death experiences. So we cannot have that anymore in 2022, because there's been a consensus statement from medical experts from around the world for the future of this research. This link is going to be below as usual. So TLDR, the argument is near-death experiences, or recalled death experiences, as some of these newer postulations are calling the phenomenon, are the last cognitive processes of a dying brain, the last flashing lights of a dying brain, just induced by maybe some chemicals within the body, is the last cognitive processes of the brain. This is not a correct argument for the following reasons. Number one, it cannot explain confirmed out-of-body experiences, which are mentioned in this article. and they are confirmed by staff who were in place, who were doing the procedures that the specific subject had, and they are able to confirm what happened when the person was not able to have any conscious recollection. And it goes so deep even to go into the thoughts of the nurses or the doctors who were in place. This is common in out-of-body experiences, so it cannot explain this. The last cognitive processes of a time frame cannot explain what happens outside the brain. This argument is incorrect because it cannot explain what's behind this intelligent design. Intelligent design is mentioned in this article. It mentions that the brain, perhaps by evolutionary features, creates this flashing of the happiest memories of our lives and so on and so forth. It does not explain the origin of this process, what's behind this intelligent design. It also cannot explain why the same thing happens in psychedelics, where the brain gets activated in some of the same regions as the same brain waves as during this specific case. And in psychedelics, people are able to travel to places, different realities, which seem realer, more real than this reality, and they meet beings and so on and so forth. It also cannot explain why people experience this live recall, this live review. It's interesting that they call it live recall because they are talking about memory recollection. They're just recalling all the memories that you had in life. Your brain is doing it and so on and so forth. And as I said, it deals with the issue of qualia. Where exactly are those memories? Are they the electricity going through the brain? We don't know. We don't know where all of this is. But more importantly and harder to look into is why would our brain see the memories through the eyes of other? This is simply not coherent with the research. The only way that this could happen, as I said, is that our actual consciousness, the larger consciousness that we access after that or during this altered state of consciousness experiences, is not our self-ego consciousness, but it's outside, and we can see through our experience and through the experience of others. And lastly, this argument cannot explain why people are meeting autonomous entities which are sharing knowledge. This is the same knowledge. Things like we are all one, we're all part of the same thing, we are not our bodies. Everything is about love at the end of the day. We are in a process of learning, in a process of experiencing. Everything is going to be okay. And this information is being shared to hundreds of millions of people, according to the consensus statement from medical experts around the world for the future of near-death experiences research. If you're on the path of finding the truth about reality and our purpose as humans on Earth, the information that I have to share concerns you. After a lifetime of research in philosophies ranging from Buddhism to the occult, I've encountered themes and patterns along some baffling information that is beginning to be seriously studied by science. A Rational Divine Outline, The Ghost of Jesus, is the first iteration of this project, where I analyze the message of Jesus without dogmatism, fanaticism, or religious bias. You can find my work available on Amazon on the link below. If you find this work valuable, consider subscribing, sharing, and following me on social media, as it'll help others in the same path to find this information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.